Hello, my name is Tim Lee, and welcome to Tim Lee's Investing Resource. I'm a geologist and mining equity research analyst. I apologize ahead of time. I'm recovering from a bit of a cold here, so my voice isn't 100%, but nonetheless, we have a great story here for you today. I will encourage investors. This is not official investment advice. I definitely encourage you to do your due diligence, particularly investing in the sometimes treacherous waters of the junior mineral exploration and mining space. Although it has been exciting times over the past year, and I believe that we have exciting times to look forward to as well in this space. So joining me today is Peter Latta. Peter is president of Silver Wolf Exploration. Silver Wolf is SWLF on the TSX Venture Exchange, and Silver Wolf is focused on silver exploration in Mexico. So without further ado, Peter, take it away.
Thank you so much, Tim. Really appreciate it. And it is treacherous. It can be. It historically has been treacherous. And, to the average investor, you need to really understand the people behind it, the nature of the project, the jurisdiction, and what they're trying to do. And the more information that they can equip themselves with, the better they can make those decisions. But certainly there's some outsized gains to be had. And we haven't yet seen the capital flow to those exploration companies. And that's why I'm really delighted to bring you this story about the little exploration project we're running. So with that, I will share my screen and just run through a few slides. And here we go. So Silver Wolf Exploration is the company. We are focused on large, high-grade greenfields discoveries in Mexico. So we are a pure explorer. This isn't a development property. This isn't a property that's been kicked around before either. And I will get into that. Of course, I will be making some forward-looking statements, and I would recommend that any investor take a look at what those entail. So recent updates, and really the main points I want to get across is that we are drilling. We are drilling on a property that's never been drilled before. We're fully funded. We are in the process of drilling. We've extracted some core. I was just looking at some core pictures this morning, believe it or not. We are still on our first hole. We have 13 holes planned, but we are drilling away on our property, which is fantastic. In December, we did complete the option. So we own 100% of the property. We have 100% ownership. And that was done at a share issuance of 20 cents, which is actually higher than the current price. So that you can buy it lower than the cost of what we purchased the property for. And that was all done according to the option agreement. That price was set as a floor. In November, we did complete a financing at 15 cents. With a half warrant at 25. This was done with minimal commissions. This was done with our network. As I'll get into, we're associated with the intermediate producer Avino Silver and Gold. So we're fully funded to drill. We are drilling. It's the most exciting time in our industry. The potential to make a discovery. I'm really excited about it. I'm talking to our geologists in the field all the time. I'll be heading down there soon. It's just a great time. And I hope and I pray that we get to make a discovery. And it only takes one hole, which is a beautiful thing. The silver case, and Tim, we talked a little bit about this, but I'm happy to share more. I am a metallurgist by education. Just as a brief background, I've been in the industry since graduating in 2007. With an engineering degree in metallurgy. I spent my time kind of around the world, but mainly focused on silver projects from the Yukon to Argentina. I've been on site in a number of different capacities, but usually in the technical capacity. And I went back to school, did my MBA, and then got associated with, I took a job with Avino Silver and Gold, where I also am employed. So I'm a huge believer in silver. I like the industrial component of it. I love the financial component of it. I think silver is it is labeled a critical mineral, and I'm just a huge bull on it. I own some personally, the physical bullion, as well as invest in silver companies, and of course work in silver companies as well. Just to get into the share and capital structure. This is tightly held. There's only 62 million shares outstanding, and half of that is controlled by management and insiders. And our sister company, our parent company, one could think, more sister than parent really, but Avino Silver and Gold. And so 51% is owned by retail investors. So relatively tightly held, and not a huge float out there as well. Keeping in mind that none of the management staff, we do share management with Avino, but we do not take a salary. This is really the key to giving ourselves as much runway as possible and really maximizing the capital and being as efficient as possible to maximize that capital into the ground. So there are a few warrants and options outstanding, as that is a way that we can compensate people that do work for the company in the corporate office. But there's not a lot of juniors that you can say that management doesn't take a salary. So it's a point of pride that we definitely like to highlight. So this is where we are. We're working on the Ana Maria project. Our focus and our strength is in Mexico. This is where our associated the Avino mine. This is where we took the option, or we've exercised the option from Avino. This is where the Ana Maria property here is, here in Durango. You can see where Durango is relative to Mexico. And Durango is not a border or a port state, so it tends not to see the same confrontation as other states. And I'm happy to get into a little bit more of that later. We have 2,500 hectares. You can access right off this main highway here. Actually, you can hit a golf ball from the highway to the property, believe it or not, which is absolutely incredible in terms of access. So easy access to power and water, as well as any local labor required. We have a signed agreement with the local ejidos to establish best ESG practices early on, and we have completed that 100% option. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of synergies with Avino Silver and Gold right here. As I mentioned, I'm the VP of Technical Services for Avino, so that's where I can afford not to take a salary at Silver Wolf because I get one at Avino. And we can also share on a lot of corporate overhead costs, as well as drilling. We can leverage our relationships with drill contractors and basically every vendor required in order to execute a drill program, because Avino has been long established in Durango. It's been there since 1968. So to be able to leverage that experience and expertise and skill sets has been really critical and really unique for a junior. And once again, helps us, kind of punch above our weight, maximize that capital that goes into the ground, and have access to some really top quality skills and people that make this project go. So where are we? The Lassonde curve, the famous or infamous Lassonde curve. I love this curve because it essentially explains everything one needs to know about the mining industry on one graph, and I love graphs. And you can put any mining company on this curve, and you're always looking to move to the next stage. So where we are at pre-discovery right here. This is where the most amount of value creation can happen when you go from pre-discovery to discovery. Once again, it only takes one drill hole to do that. The most amount of torque in the stock, the most exciting time, arguably the most romantic time about the mining industry, is going from an idea, a concept, a theory, to drilling and making a discovery. And drilling is the ultimate arbiter of truth. Drilling is where you determine if you have made a discovery. It's not from sampling. It's not from geophysics. You have to drill, put that hole in the ground, take that core out, and understand what rocks are underground and what you potentially discovered. And of course, you know this very, very well as a geologist, Tim. So I'm not telling you something that you don't know extremely well already. But this is the most exciting part of the curve. You can put any other mining company here, but this to me is really exciting, going from pre-discovery to discovery, because that is where there's a lot of torque. Of course, there's high risk involved in the fact that we could hit nothing, but that is the risk you take and you are compensated with a potential reward. And where we're seeing things at in the cycle now, we've certainly seen capital flow to the commodity prices themselves. Silver and gold have had an incredible run. You've seen that reflected in some of the majors and the intermediate producers and the junior producers, but we haven't yet seen that really in the development companies as well as the pure exploration companies. And capital tends to flow kind of in a waterfall effect. So we will see that flow into the exploration companies as well, I think. So I think we still have a long way to go in this bull market. So the geological model that we're following is one by the developed by a geologist by the name of Peter McGaw of mag fame, I should say. And he was pioneering this CRD, which stands for Carbonate Replacement Model and Skarn Model. And the main thing to take away here is that we have this hard intrusive stock. That's a hard granite type rock that would penetrate through softer carbonates and allow for hot fluids to deposit dissolved minerals in a halo effect around this skarn, and then distal to that intrusive stock in these chimneys or flat-lying mantos in the CRD type of deposit. So the same geological feature, this main intrusive penetrating through soft carbonates, gives you two geological targets, that skarn in a halo and that CRD. That's the main thing to take away. And this is kind of a well understood model at this point in time. A number of CRDs have been discovered by this gentleman, Peter McGaw, and skarns are quite common in Mexico and certainly in this area, as well as CRDs. So our priority targets are exactly that, those two things, the skarn and the CRD. This is the skarn target right here. This is on that central claim. You see this pink structure. That is the intrusive structure. That's the intrusive penetrating through these green soft carbonate rocks. And on that boundary between that intrusive and these carbonates is where you get that skarn. You can trace that along surface. This is what we're drilling right now. We wanted to drill this property first. Skarns are typically easier to find because they usually outcrop on surface. There's goods, you can find the contact relatively easily if you know where the intrusive is. So it makes them relatively easy to spot. CRDs are more difficult because they're underground and they don't typically leak. There's not as many indicators for CRDs. And we've drilled that in the past where you have to do some follow-up drilling. But the main focus of what I want to talk about is this skarn, because we're drilling it now. We're on the first hole, and we have 13-hole program planned. So as I mentioned, here's this skarn that outcrops on surface. Here, you don't need to be a geologist to know that these rocks are different colors than these rocks. And this makes it relatively easy to identify and sample and then trace along that boundary, the entire boundary between that intrusive and those carbonates. So you can sample this, you can get an idea if this is mineralized, and then the goal would be to find the best spots, target a drill bit to drill at depth to understand what's happening at depth. And that's exactly what we did. So you layer in all the different data from the satellite imagery, the geology and field mapping, the radiometrics, the magnetics, the shortwave infrared, to layer all of those sorts of data sets in to understand your targeting. And we spent a lot of time doing that. We've also enlisted the help of an AI software company called Verify that helps integrate a lot of this data to look at targets that maybe weren't as obvious to a single geologist or to the team of geologists when looking at the data in aggregate. So that's something where I feel like AI has been a big benefit. It certainly doesn't replace the geologist, and it doesn't replace all the data gathering and mapping, but it does help aggregate a lot of it and maybe make connections with data that may be difficult to see with just one person. So we've sampled along this, keeping in mind this is the intrusive and these are the carbonates, and this is the boundary between. This is where you typically see the skarn, and this is where we've sampled along. This is a 5-kilometer strike length here, so you see quite a big distance. And we've sampled this, and we've seen definitely some indications of mineralization with some very, very good grades, up to 37 grams per ton gold. You see another 7 grams or 5 grams per ton gold, high zinc content, and all this to say that yes, we're definitely seeing indications that this skarn is mineralized, and it's worth drilling at depth to understand what happens there. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So we have this 3,000-meter 13-hole program planned, and that is really hitting the best parts of the skarn. So this is we haven't identified the main body of it, and that's what the theory is. Essentially we have 13 different theories that we're testing out here. And I like to think of exploration as playing 3D Battleship. You're trying to hit one part of it so that you can understand how the deposit looks underground, and obviously the types of grades, so that you can continue expanding and identifying what that looks like at depth and in 3D space. So we have 13 holes planned at 3,000 meters. We are on hole number 1. And at that, I'd maybe just take a break. Any questions, any comments, anything you want to go through, Tim, at this point?
Sure. Obviously, you're able to get drill permits without a problem there. How do you find operating in Mexico in the current political environment?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So Avino's been operating in Mexico since 1968. We have every skill set under the sun required to operate a mine, from permitting to legal to operational, every type of operational skill set. And so, we're very comfortable operating in the state of Durango. That's where we've been. That's where our historical base is, and we didn't have any issues getting permits for this project. And so we're comfortable in Durango. And I think, once again, when you look at a country like Mexico, you have to understand the regional differences and understand the regional expertise. Just akin to saying, how comfortable is a mining company operating in Canada? Well, operating in Saskatchewan is very different than operating in PEI or whatever it may be. So understanding those regional differences is really important. And our focus and our base and our area of expertise is Durango. So we're very comfortable operating there.
Great. And perhaps a follow-up on the selection of the drilling holes. Obviously, you had highlighted some of the data and so on and the background, but you can tell us a little bit about why you chose these particular drill holes.
Yeah, I mean, really, it comes down to layering all the data, right? And you're coming up with essentially 13 individual theories, because when you're trying to make a discovery, you don't fully understand the controls, and even when a mine's fully, you don't understand all the controls until the mine's fully, until it's been completely mined out anyway. But when you don't have a deposit or there's no historical drilling, you're going with essentially you're trying to cover as much ground and as much theory as you can, and test them all in different directions. So it makes for individual drill pads, and you have to move the drill kind of every hole, but it gives you the most amount of things to test. So, and that's done through a lot of surface mapping, a lot of boots on the ground with guys understanding the rocks, and then layering in all these different data sets to come up with that. And it's kind of a collective decision, and our head geologist really understands Mexico and has an idea and has seen many of these types of deposits before. So that's the other thing, is you really lean on the experience of the team.
Great. Thank you, Peter. Please continue.
Yeah. So we did drill 17 holes at the CRD target. Now, we got a lot of smoke, but no fire. We need to integrate a lot of this data. Now, being that we're a small company, there's only so much time and resources that we can focus on each property, and we moved our focus to that skarn. But we did drill the CRD, and it is worth following up. We think it's very similar to the Abuela mine, and we think we're just too high up in the system. As you can see here, we pulled out some core. You see that brecciated limestone with a calcite matrix and fractures filled with iron oxides. That recrystallization and carbonate baiting, that's a very good indication that mineralization events and alterations are happening there, but we didn't find any mineralization, or I should say economic mineralization at this point in time. However, CRDs are difficult to find. They're not straightforward. They're not easy. They're not as easy as skarns, but they can be quite high grade. But we were able to tick off a number of items from what's known as the CRD checklist, which is quite good. So there's only 2 things left to really check off. But this gives us some indication that, hey, we're in the right spot, we're in the right neighborhood, and we think that there's some potential there. So it's definitely worth following up. But as I mentioned, our main focus is on the drill program right now. This is a cross section of the drill hole that we hit. There were some historical adits from Mexican operators. No public company has owned these properties before, or have drilled on these properties before, but there was historical workings from historic Mexican miners. And we think we're high up in the system. This is the Abuela mine. It pulled out 160 million ounces. It was one of the first mines by Peñoles. It operated for a number of years, hundreds of years, and there's extensive workings underground. It's a well-known deposit. We think we're still high up here. As you can see, Abuela is very, very deep, and the spaghetti strings types of deposit, but it makes it very difficult to necessarily pin exactly where it's going to go. But we think we're high up in the system. That's what we see at Abuela, that brecciated limestone. So we think it's certainly worth going a little bit deeper and understanding what happens at depth. This is the Abuela mine here. The beauty of the Abuela mine is that this is now a mining museum. They've actually rebuilt this bridge, and you can visit it, and our geologist has spent a lot of time there. And the beauty of that is that you can kind of see the similarities. You can see the rocks. You can walk the underground tunnels to look for similarities, and that's exactly what we spent a lot of the time doing. And as I mentioned, it produced 160 million ounces from very, very high grade. Just getting into the management a little bit, David Wolf, and he is the chairman and CEO. He brings 35 years of experience. He is the president CEO of Avino Silver and Gold. His father started the company, and actually Silver Wolf is named in honor of the founder Lou Wolfen, who started the company in 1968, and that was David's father. We have Peter Schreiber as well. He actually started a brokerage company, the PI Financial, which is now Ventum, and Swiss banker, and is still heavily involved in the industry. Stephen Williams, he is the VP of Investor Relations for Lundin Mining, previously a director at Canaccord, and he has, it's fantastic to have someone with his credentials here. I went to school with Stephen. I've known him for a number of years. And fantastic to have him on board. I myself am a professional engineer and MBA. I've operated kind of all over the world, but specifically on silver projects between Argentina and the Yukon. Hansa Catchpole is our PhD geologist. He was the VP of exploration for GR Silver, so extensive experience in Mexico, operating drill programs and really understanding the geology of Mexico. And we also have Nathan Hart and Carlos Rodriguez. Carlos Rodriguez is our VP of exploration, educated at the Colorado School of Mines. He is the COO of Avino and really understands Durango and geology as well. Another two gentlemen that are involved, that's Vic Chevelon. He found the Cordero deposit, which is the largest silver deposit in the world, which is now Discovery Silver. He found it on the 5th drill hole, believe it or not. At 1.3 billion ounces of silver. Discovery Silver is now trying to advance, as well as Terry Solomon. He is he's with Solomon Partners, president and CEO. He is a very famous Vancouver financier, financed companies like Pan American Silver and Silver Wheaton, and still involved. He's got a wing of the Vancouver Hospital dedicated to him. He's got a library here dedicated to him. A very well-respected gentleman that is still very well connected to the industry. So all that is to say is these gentlemen help us punch way above our weight in terms of, Silver Wolf can attract these types of people is pretty incredible. And I feel very honored that all of these people are involved the way they are. So really straightforward next steps here. We're drilling 13 holes. We started this quarter. We're drilling the first hole. We're fully funded to do it. That's the exciting part. Stay tuned. Results will be out as soon as they are available. We got 13 chances. It's exciting. Then with the CRD claim there, we're going to continue to integrate some of that data, and then we'll go back and look at what it means after we finish with the skarn. And of course, we're working to make a potential discovery. Just going back to that Lassonde curve, that's where we'll see the torque. If we can put out some fantastic drill results on the first drill program at the skarn target. So the investment case is quite straightforward. We have a management team that's experienced with an asset in a familiar jurisdiction. This is a new skarn target that's not been kicked around by any other company. No one's drilled it before. So we have that kind of blue sky potential there. We have 5 kilometers along the strike there. Easy access to infrastructure off the highway, as well as the labor required and the discounted drilling by leveraging the relationships that Avino has. And then the synergies, the optionality for exit. If this was, if we did find something, perhaps Avino would be interested, or any of the other regional operators. And with that, thank you very much, Tim.
Great. Thank you, Peter. I guess I have one or two questions to follow up. Looking
Yeah.
at the drilling side of things, obviously you have an advantage with the Avino relationship. But what are about your drilling costs, and what would be about the timing to complete the 13-hole program?
Yeah, about $150 a meter, US a meter, which is pretty good. Drilling, we only have one rig on site. So far, it's going well, but I mean, you run into drill issues all the time. That's kind of common with the drill program. But it'll probably take, let's say, to complete the program, it'll probably take about 3 months.
Okay, great. So we have some exciting results potentially to look forward to from Silver Wolf. Very exciting times, Peter. Very interesting project. And yeah, truly exploration, as you've pointed out, when you're really looking at a new project that hasn't been kicked around, but really you see the geologic potential there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a very exciting time, and it's not often that you can find, like, as you mentioned, a project that's never been drilled before, with great access in a jurisdiction where we've operated and understand it, where these types of deposits are relatively common. It's really exciting, and I just hope and pray that we get to make a discovery, and the next time we talk, we can talk about the great hit we had.
Great. All right. Well, I'd like to thank Peter Latta from Silver Wolf for joining me today. And thank you to our viewers as well for joining us. Have a great rest of your day and happy investing.
Thanks so much, Tim.